What's up, YouTube? Got a quick video here on deck profile of my Lightsworn Tearlaments deck. Uh, Changed a little bit of things from my last video and just want to show a quick deck profile of what I come up with that got me second place at my locals and that I think is a pretty good build. Still obviously making adjustments, but get into it here. And I got them mapped up in the 4 different parts. So we'll start with Lightsworn, then Tearlaments, the Tearlaments traps and spells, and then the quick extra deck. So move to Lightsworn first. So for Lightsworn cards like before, 3 Lightsworn Dragonling. You can run with 2, but 3 I felt was the best number just for consistency. And 3 Wolf is definitely mandatory. You could never run with less than 3 Wolf just because you need to send him from the graveyard and it's a free special summon, free body. 3 Weiss, again, mandatory just because not only do you want this sent to graveyard, but you want to see it in your hand along with another Lightsworn to special summon it and then send 2 right away to just start your milling. I do have Fearless at 3. You could get away with 1 or 2, but I'm running 3 just to max out on Lightsworns to see in hand for Weiss's effect. But again, you could possibly just run it with 1. I do run at 3 sync or 8, so that's why I feel like 3 is best. But at some point, it's not a bad build to cut it to 2 or 1. The last monster is just Punishment Dragon. Judgment Dragon I have on the side, but Punishment Dragon I main just because it lets you recycle the whole deck, and plus being able to interrupt with your opponent's graveyard is huge. Free inherit summon once you have 4 banished Lightsworns. But sometimes going second, you would want to take them out because you're not going to, if your Minerva gets interrupted, you're not going to have 4 banished, and JD is a lot easier to summon than Punishment Dragon. Then the only thing else for Lightsworn is just the charge of Light Brigade, not once per turn. Remember though, the mills off of this are by cost and not effect, so a lot of the Tealment stuff isn't going to go off. Most of the Lightsworn stuff's not going to go off. Only really Punishment Dragon is going to go off. I'm pretty sure Weiss will go off as well, so he will. Fearless, I mean. I think he is by. Yep, he's by just card effect or just sent to graveyard. It says not by card or monster effect, but Weiss specifically says by monster effect. So that's it for Lightsworn. Now for the Tearlaments portion of the deck. Obviously, you have to have 3 of the only thing you can have 3 of is Rhinoheart. Rhinoheart is unfortunately not a 1-card starter, but he's kind of what I will go into. I usually run the Lightsworn stuff first, depending on my hand. But Tearlaments isn't a bad bait because really, if you can resolve Minerva, then you're going to go full combo, or you're going to build some type of decent board. There's a possibility Rhinoheart could be a 1-card starter if they bring back Kit Kalos. I don't know if that's going to be a thing. I'm hoping for the ban list, but she is pretty powerful. But that would make this deck play through a lot more as it's all gas. And but regardless, in general, you have to have 3 of him. And then the other thing I have to have 3 of for sure is each of the names. So they'll each have 1. They're definitely not coming back to 2. That would be stupid. I think they should bring back Kit Kalos. What is this? Kit Kalos should come back before these names. Having more than 1 of each of these names is way too toxic for this game. I've been liking playing with Tier. I never played with Tier before, but I know that was just way too toxic having 2 of each names that had Master Duel and 3 in TCG. So just 1 of each. That's all you can have. And then for Tearlaments, Fenrir does count as Tearlaments because Fenrir is just giving you a free body on the field. Plus, he's a good end board boss monster, and he's searching tier cache. So I'm playing 2 tier cache. You could run 3, and if you ran 3, you could only run maybe 1 or 2 Fenrir if you're running the planet. Planet's a good ash bait, but I just like the idea of having 3 Fenrir because he's one of my favorite cards, and having him as end board is great. And 3 tier cache would be good, but I've been pretty good with just 2. 2 is pretty good because you can recycle them off of the tier trap that I don't get into, but pretty much rotate them. For sure, again, like I kept talking about, if they bring back Kit Kalos, then you only need 2 because you can recycle them. As long as you have 1 in the graveyard, you can keep bringing it back off of Kit Kalos. So 2 would be good at that point, but if I went to a 60 card build, this deck would I'd run two. I'd run three instead of two. Also for tier, this counts as tier lineup. The two shufflers, very huge because I'm using them to either interact with my opponent or shuffle back the Lightsworn monsters, and then Punishment Dragon shuffles everything else back. And then also part of the tier lineup is the King of the Swamps, using the King of the Swamps for two different fusion materials for either Grapha or Root Kalos. So he's great. The level 4, I'm probably going to change to just because I think he's an Aqua Water, but King of Swamp I'm using for now just because I was running Poly, but I did cut Polymerization, so I probably don't need him, but I do want to make sure I have a water. The water doesn't matter, but just that it's Aqua, so that way it's material for Kaleido Heart as well as anything else as far as your Wukalis or Grapha. The last thing I'm considering as part of the Tearlaments engine is the only hand trap I run this deck is the 3 Mokchamis. Why I consider this part of Tearlaments is because it's a water aqua. So not only if most of the time I don't need a normal summon, so I can use this. It's a level 4 water aqua to make Bahamut Shark to go into Totally Awesome. Also, it's an aqua, so you can use it as material for Kaleido Heart. So it does work very well in the deck. Plus, it's a all gas board breaker deck, so being able to have as much draw power as possible is amazing. Last part for the Tearlaments part, so last part of the deck is going to be the Tearlaments spells and traps. So you need 3 of the planets. In my side, I do run the Kashtira planet, but I don't main it. I don't think it's. I think it's only good for going first. It's good bait material, but like I said, I'd rather just run the 3 Fenrir. But this is mandatory for sure, having 3 tier planets. And then the 3 Scream, I would say 3 Scream is just mandatory because you want as much mill power as possible, and being able to mill 1 or pop 1 for the graveyard effect is huge. I would never run less than 3. I mean, if I was trying to go to 45 or 40 card build, obviously 2, but with a 50 card build, 50, 60 card, definitely 3. And then the other tier cards I felt was really important was Heartbeat, just because its first effect is decent, giving the ability to send a card from your hand off a card effect, and then being able to get rid of like a skill drain or a field spell planet is great. I mean, setting this against Tempai and then getting rid of their field spell before the effect goes through is awesome. And plus the fact that it doesn't destroy and it sends back is pretty nice. But really, the reason I'm running 2 is just to add back the traps. The Tealman's traps are so huge that when I mill them, I want to mill them because I want their effects to go off, but then I want to mill this so that I can add back the trap. So very, very huge. And speaking of here, the traps. 2 Soliak and 2 Crime. Now, if I wasn't running Heartbeat, I'd probably run 3 Soliak, but I only need 2 because of the Heartbeat. And like I said, I do want to. I mean, these are huge to have in the field, especially going first. Soliak probably better than Crime, but Crime is your Omni negate, your counter trap that can't be responded to, based off of Dark Ruler no more. Most of the time, drop unless they're sending a trap. So that's why this card's huge, but they both have amazing graveyard effects. So I want to mill them. I want to mill them, and then I want to add it back off a Heartbeat. You can add them off of Heartbeat, or obviously off of Scream, add him to your hand from the deck. But most of the time, I'd rather than Scream milling them. The reason I run 3 Scream is just because I want to have that guaranteed chain blocking and extra 3 mill power, but I usually don't want to add them for my deck. Like I said, I want to mill them, and Soliak's ability to add any Tealments monster is insane. Crime's ability to add back a banished Tealments. That's why I'm always using Tier Cash to banish a Tealments Cash Tier monster, specifically Tealments Cash Tier in the deck to add it back to get in rotation. So I want to mill both of these and then add them back off of Heartbeat for sure. Okay, and then the rest of the tier lineup. The only other tier spell or trap is just Trevi Karma, just to add any Tealments card that I need in rotation, whether it be the planet or one of the traps or Scream, whatever it may be. He's just really great. You could argue if I went to a 60 card build, I'd probably run Terraforming and the Pressure Planet for Kashtira, because that's a very great Ash bait. But this is just huge because it adds you anything. Only thing else that I would consider a tier spell is my only board breakers, the 3 super polys. Not as great in this format, but I think it's just the best one for this deck, and I main the super polys instead of maining talents or anything else. I mean, talents, getting the ripping a card out of the hand is pretty good, but the drawing sometimes messes up your mills. So I don't know if I would ever change the talents. Maybe if I went for a higher build, I would, but I don't know. I think the super polys is the best board breaker for this deck. So for the extra deck, as far as the Exceeds monsters, running the Toad package, so just Bahamut Shark plus Totally Awesome. So, like I said, you know, 2 Rhino Hearts makes Bahamut Shark, Rhino Heart plus Mud Dragon, or Rhino Heart plus the Mokshami, or the also Rhino Heart plus the Mud Dragon. So you got Mud Dragon here, Mud Dragon plus Mokshami. So lots of ways to make him, and that's just another Omni Negate. You gotta have this deck. It's insane. The only other Exceeds is just Zombie Vampire. So Zombie Vampire I'm making with 2 level 8 synchros, and that's just giving you extra mill power and special summoning. For the links, only running 3 links. So Sprint, IP, and SP. I recently went to SP in here just because most of the time, if your hand's going well, you don't need Sprint for the extra fusion. I kind of have my fusions already set up going first, so SP is just giving you that extra interaction boss monster. I mean, SP on its own beats a lot of decks, especially if you're going into it with IP. But for IP, I'm either going to go to Sprint or SP. If for some reason IP gets banned, then I wouldn't run any links. Then there'll be no point of going into any of this. So I cut, this all the links if that was the case. So, and then for fusions, the obvious fusions are Kaleido Hot and Kalos. So, uh, you could argue that you need to run more than one Kaleido Heart because he's the main boss monster. If Kashtira is more prevalent because of Unicorn, but since Kashtira is not that popular, I don't think you need more than one. I think one's more than enough. Rukalos is huge. I usually make Rukalos over Kaleido Heart. Kaleido Heart I hardly make. I mean, I only make him when I'm kind of stuck because he is pretty good. He's a good boss monster, and that target send back, and plus using his effect to send to then go into another fusion is great. Sending what Tearlaments monster you need, but I think she's way better. Okay, and then for the other fusions, well, the last fusion I'll show before getting the Super Point ones is Grapha. Grapha is my favorite fusion, and Tearlaments just because it's negating and it can negate everything except for a quick play spell, and sending a card from your hand usually sets you up to fusion summon more. Or at least get something to your hand that you could use. So he's huge, and plus, I mean, just a huge body. 3,200 attack, plus if you have the field spell, he's 3,700 attack. He's awesome. So for the super poly targets here, Mud Dragon, obviously, Garuru, and Predator Plant. So you can usually make these in your combo without Super Poly, but they're huge Super Poly targets as they are. So I would never not have these in just because you can use them to recycle the other fusions uh, to make throughout your combo. And again, Mud Dragon, I don't usually put him in the field for protection. He's just used mainly as material to get into um, the Bahamut Shark. Garulu is probably the only one that you could possibly cut, but he's just great because of mating Super Poly. But these two are just mandatory for sure. He's the only optional one, but he's just really great. I mean, Super Polying against Tempai is crazy. Making him, I shut down the whole Tempai's combo just by Super Poly right there. The last part of the synchro of the deck is the synchros. So the obvious two are going to be Minerva and Amatar. So Minerva is what's the Lightsworn part that's getting you into your next synchro. So just synchro summoning Minerva, once her effect goes off, it's going to guarantee you getting into him because you send the other 2 Lightsworns you need, and then that's going to give you a mill 4 to farther set you up into your fusion plays. Which is huge. Also, like I said, these 2 is what I'm using to make Zombie Vampire. The last synchro is going to be an Emancipator. If I added Bistros to this, I would probably run Dispatter instead, but he's just a spell trap negate, which is huge. As long as you have a ward in the graveyard, which you got so many warders. Mud Dragon, I mean not Mud Dragon, King of Swamp, uh, and then Mokshami, and of course the Mokshami, I'm sorry, Rhino Heart, Tearlaments Rhino Heart, they're all waters, right? Um, so that's huge. Almatara, I showed him already, I didn't mention. So this gets you any Tearlaments card you need for that combo or for as an NP. So he's huge. Also, his ability to pop a card on the field is huge because if you have a Tearlaments name on the field, you can pop that to continue your fusion plays. Um, Very quick, just going to show my side deck because the side deck is still probably the one thing I'm not too sure about with this deck. Everything else I'm pretty confident with. So for now, just running the two Lightning Storms, and the Harpy's Feather Duster for board breakers. For the rest of the side, three evenly matched. Okay. And then after three evenly matched, three Dark Ruler no more. And then I do have the third heartbeat. So heartbeat I'll put in if I'm playing against a strategy. So rather than running cosmic, I like heartbeat better because it's it's not only outing a spell or trap that could be an issue like skill drain or something like that, but it's also extending me into my plays. And then, like I said, the graveyard effect is huge. Then for going first, I'd put in these two. So there's another negate, not necessarily omni negate, but on field negate, and then pressure plant for sure going first because that's ash material. But like I said, you could argue this probably would be better maining just because if I'm once my opponent knows I'm going first, they already know I'm on Tealman, so they probably are not going to ash this. So I think this is what I always ran in Vanadium because it's such great ash material, and you would take it out going second if you don't think you need it. But I don't know. I'm just trying with. I think it's still good in the side. Probably will go to the main deck when I can figure out the slot for it. And then the Judgment Dragon, he's amazing. So going second, you swap Punishment Dragon with Judgment Dragon. Even going first, you could put him just for an extra free body, but you don't necessarily need him. He's not once per turn, so that's insane. Be able to pop the field multiple times as much as you want, up as long as you have life points for it to give. It's crazy. And plus, what's great is the Light Storms have to be in the graveyard. So if you don't get to use Minerva's effect, Minerva gets negated. You can still special summon him as long as you have 4 different Light Swarms in the graveyard. The final 3 cards are just the kaiju. I can't remember what I ran before. I think more going first stuff, but I think, or I think like even called by Graven stuff. But I think the kaiju is huge. There is a lot of towers coming back. I'm pretty sure that Kashtira Riseheart's going to come back and they're going to ban Shifter. So I think I'm just kind of getting prepared with him just to out boards. He's just great to get out some boss monsters as well. And also, it's a water aqua, so it's fusion material for Kaleido Heart. Well, any questions, concerns, comments, please leave below. And any more deck profiles you guys are looking for, I'll be making on like my Kashtira deck, and be definitely posting a video with combos and test hands with this deck. Thank you.